Thanks very much, Jane. I think I've been given a pretty impossible task. I've got to cover urban upgrading, the process of urban upgrading in 10 minutes. It's not really possible. So what I'm going to do is give you a very good reference. There's a wonderful group called the Cities Alliance. Some of you may know it. If you don't know it, go into Google Cities Alliance, just the way it sounds. And they have this wonderful booklet, and it comes as a CD-ROM package called Approaches to Urban Slums, and tells you pretty much everything you need to know about how to deal with the phenomena of raising slums, dealing with slums in a socially responsible way. Cities Alliance is a multi-donor. It was established jointly by the World Bank and UN Habitat. It's now supported by a range of bilateral and multilateral donors, but it also importantly has NGO members, certainly some of the slum resident representatives from India, and importantly some cities like Cape Town are also members. So it brings together a great wealth of experience to the problem. I've been told I should talk about three particular things, and I've got three down, but I'm sure I'm not going to get through them, so I'm trying to think which is the most important one. Sequentially, the most important thing to do is how to change the mindsets of governments, national governments, and most importantly, local governments, city authorities. We went through this process, as Jane mentioned. I spent 6 years in Vietnam, and basically we went through the process from zero through to, I think what I believe is the culmination that we should be aiming at is to persuade governments that they should adopt a national urban upgrading strategy and put their own money through that. And it's a very slow process, and it takes a long time to explain, so I'm wondering how much time I should spend on that, because what I'm really interested in is when you get down to the nitty-gritty and how you actually get things moving. The important thing about changing mindsets is finding champions. You have to persuade influential people in the country, and the way we approached it in Vietnam was getting to people, recently retired senior ministers, and persuading them to change. Basically, the starting point was government's policy was slash and burn with bulldozers. Slums were a blight and should be cleared. People should be moved out and put into high-rise towers, and city beautifuls should be created. Of course, and every city mayor has a wonderful master plan with multicolours, often prepared by international consultants, on his wall. And it bears absolutely no relation to reality. They know that, but they still have this ideal that they think they're going to do. And of course, slums pay no part in that. So it's a very difficult entry point, a very difficult starting point. We employed a lot of local researchers, local universities to research the problems of the urban poor, what they were, and then importantly, as I mentioned, brought in agencies who over time could be persuaded. We brought in best experience, best practice, exposed these people to the best practice from other countries. Conveniently, probably one of the best programs that's been developed over the past few decades was in Indonesia, the Kampong Improvement Program, which eventually was adopted by the government and benefited over 30 million people. So there's good experience in neighboring countries in Southeast Asia that people can learn by. There's two strands to the approach that you need to follow. There's an adaptive approach, so that's the incremental improvements to existing slums. So getting people away from the fact that they should be destroyed, because there's huge amounts of social and financial capital in existing slums. So rather than destroy all of that, try to build on it and incrementally improve it. On the other side, there's the proactive approach and try to stop the slums being developed. That's a bit tougher. The poor are going to come. Many city leaders, city authorities think they can stop the poor coming. No city in the world has ever done that. So somehow you have to convince them that that's not a realistic policy. The poor are going to come. better to accommodate them and adapt them and try to get ahead of the curve. It's infinitely more expensive to retrofit infrastructure to slums than it is to try and get the infrastructure in, even if it's only the most basic infrastructure in establishing reservations, that roads and eventually drainage and water pipes and whatever can be done. But it's not easy, and cities never have the money. The other thing to get across is that people who live in slums are a valuable resource for the city. I mean, they tend to be looked down on, but in fact, they're the lifeblood of the city. They're what makes the cities tick over. And somehow trying to do some sort of help governments through some sort of simple economic analysis just to show how valuable a presence they are.